Imagine the kid in 1940s Chicago sneaking into the basement where a dusty drum kit sits like an abandoned spaceship. 5-year-old Jack DeJohnette climbs behind it, grabs two mismatched sticks, one a broken broom handle, and starts whacking along to Max Roach records spinning at 78 RPM. The neighbors bang on the walls, his grandmother yells for quiet, but something clicks. Within a week, the kid's left foot is doing things most adults can't dream of, and the right hand is painting polyrhythms like a toddler Picasso on caffeine. That was the origin story of Jack DeJohnette, the jazz drummer who could swing harder than a pendulum on espresso, fuse rock and funk without breaking a sweat, and still find time to win a Grammy for new age meditation music. Because why not? Fast forward to 1966, Jack rolls into New York City with $28, a drum throne duct taped together, and a hunger that could eat the Statue of Liberty. He crashes the East Village scene, gigging at Slugs Saloon until the walls sweat. One night, Charles Lloyd hears him and basically says, "Pack your bags, we're going to Europe and opening for Jefferson Airplane." Suddenly, Jack's trading solos with Keith Jarrett while hippies and tie-dye scream for encores. Their live album Forest Flower sells like hotcakes at a Grateful Dead parking lot. Jazz crossing over to rock crowds before crossover was even a marketing term. Logic check? If you could make a room full of acid-dropping flower children clap on the 2 and 4, you're basically a wizard. Enter Miles Davis, 1969. Miles is in his electric mad scientist phase, brewing something dark and stormy in the studio. He needs a drummer who can lock in a rock backbeat, float into free time chaos, and still keep the groove hypnotic enough to make Herbie Hancock levitate. Jack walks in, sets up next to another drummer because Miles loved stereo percussion like a kid loved double dessert, and lays down the heartbeat for Bitches Brew. Critics later call it revolutionary. Jack just calls it Tuesday. He sticks around for Jack Johnson, On the Corner, and live albums where the band sounds like a UFO landing in a funk club. Miles himself writes in his autobiography that Jack gave him a certain deep groove I just loved to play over. Translation, Jack was the human subwoofer Miles never knew he needed. But here's where it gets delightfully absurd. After leaving Miles in 1971, because even legends need a nap, Jack decides to front his own bands with names that sound like 1970s sci-fi novels. Directions, New Directions, Compost, yes, Compost, the fusion group where he also sang. Picture this, a drummer who studied classical piano for a decade now belting vocals in a prog jazz outfit while wearing bell-bottoms wide enough to smuggle a bass drum. Special edition, his 1980s quintet had horn arrangements so tasty that the New York Times basically wrote love letters. One reviewer said, the solos felt like each musician handed a different puzzle and solved it mid-air. Jack's compositions were playgrounds, swing here, free improv there, a splash of African rhythms because the globe is a spice rack. Then came the gig that lasted 3 decades and redefined small group jazz, the Keith Jarrett Trio with Gary Peacock. No rehearsals, no set lists, just 3 guys walking on stage like jazz ninjas and reinventing My Funny Valentine until it sounded like it was written yesterday. They treated standards like Lego bricks, same pieces, infinite castles. Jack once explained their longevity on a podcast. We play every tune like it's brand new. Prepare for the unexpected and go with it. Over 30 years, hundreds of concerts, dozens of albums, and exactly 0 arguments caught on tape. That's not a band, that's telepathy with health insurance. Jack never stopped shape-shifting. In the 1990s, he dropped Music for the Fifth World with members of Living Colour because nothing says jazz legend like headbanging with Vernon Reid. In 2006, he released Peacetime, a drum-only meditation record that won a Grammy in the New Age category. Yes, the same hands that once made Bitches Brew explode now coaxed Zen gardens out of cymbals. He formed Hudson, a supergroup with John Schofield and Medeski, Martin and Woods, John Medeski, proving upstate New York could birth a band cooler than most Brooklyn lofts. And in 2016, at age 74, he released Return, his first solo piano album, gentle storytelling vignettes that made critics forget he ever touched sticks. When asked about his keyboard chops, he shrugged. I play well enough to tell a story. Understatement of the century. Awards? Sure. 2 Grammys, 4 more nominations, the NEA Jazz Masters Fellowship in 2012, the jazz equivalent of a Lifetime Achievement Oscar, except you actually have to keep achieving. But numbers don't capture the scope. Jack sat in with Sun Ra, filled in for Elvin Jones behind John Coltrane, traded ideas with Pat Metheny, and mentored Ravi Coltrane and Matthew Garrison,
sons of jazz royalty keeping the flame alive. His discography is a choose-your-own-adventure. Want avant-garde? Tried the 2015 AACM reunion made in Chicago. Craving rock jazz? Cue up the Gateway Trio. Need to zen out? Music in the Key of Om was literally designed for vibrational healing with his wife Lydia, his manager and partner of 57 years. Speaking of Lydia, picture domestic life in their Woodstock home. Jack practicing paradiddles on a practice pad, while Lydia aligns chakras in the next room. Their daughters Farah and Minya grew up thinking every kid's dad could play Stella by the Starlight in 7/4 and still make pancakes. Jack's final Instagram post, 2 days before he passed, showed him grinning with 3 phones like a multitasking grandpa who accidentally invented the smartphone drum solo. Caption, Jack looking good? The internet agreed. Tributes flooded in before anyone knew it was goodbye. On October 26, 2025, congestive heart failure quietly ended the ride. He was 83, surrounded by Lydia and close friends in the Hudson Valley he called home since the Nixon administration. ECM Records broke the news. The jazz world paused mid-breath. But here's the logical kicker. Jack spent his life proving time is elastic. He heard Coltrane and Miles in his head long after they left the planet, insisting we're all riding a creative wave in a multi-dimensional reality. So maybe death is just the ultimate key change. The groove doesn't stop, it modulates. Jack DeJohnette wasn't just a drummer, he was a walking paradox who made chaos feel inevitable and swing feel eternal. He turned a basement kit into a passport, Chicago grit into global grammar, and every beat into a conversation with the cosmos. If jazz is America's classical music, Jack was its Shakespeare, Beethoven, and Jimi Hendrix rolled into one relentlessly curious soul. The last note has sounded, but the echo? That's infinite. For more deep dives into the lives that shaped culture, jazz giants, silver screen rebels, and the stories the headlines mess, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. This is Inside Hollywood signing off until the next legend demands the spotlight.